So the county attorney in Maricopa County, Rachel Mitchell, is not going to extradite, at least not right now, is not going to extradite a suspect that is suspected of murder in New York. And the DA in New York City is very upset because Rachel Mitchell, the county attorney, is concerned about soft punishment, soft treatment of this suspect in New York, which outraged the county or the district attorney in New York. He said Mitchell's behavior cheapens justice and does not center the victims. It's inappropriate. I've done this for 20 years and I've never seen anything like this. So Rachel Mitchell was on yesterday here. She was on with Markson, I believe, when he was in for me, and is talking about why she's not going to release this suspect.
That is a concern. I mean, I watched that the same as everybody else watched it with horror as illegal immigrants were attacking NYPD officers, and we support our police here. And to see them walk out of jail flipping off the camera, if you remember that part, and then 4 of them got on a bus and came here and they were arrested here, that's inexcusable.
So eventually, the suspect is going to be extradited to New York, but the reason why she wants to try this case, the Arizona case, first.
The other thing is, while the other state would not have to necessarily honor our bond amount, and of course our bond amount here is that he cannot bond out.
Right.
There's no amount of money, but they have to honor the fact that he is sentenced to prison. And so we're going to ensure that it is honored, that he is kept in custody, and that's one of the reasons we're going first.
So this is about punishment of crimes, and I will say this, politics aside, whatever you want to think of the politics of this, the responsibility of the DA in New York is to the people of New York. And on the other side of that, Rachel Mitchell has a responsibility to the citizens of Maricopa County. And so if she's concerned that a case is not going to be punished or handled properly based on evidence, not based on, and what the examples that she gives are exactly right. As a matter of fact, if you remember the story, that the migrants in New York City that attacked police officers that were released on a no-cash bond, they got out, and where did they go? They were caught here in Arizona on their way to L.A. So the concern is a legitimate concern. Whether the DA in New York gets upset about it is something else. I just think that I talk about the pendulum that swings in everybody's public opinions. And when it comes to crime and punishment, the pendulum is swinging again. It is not swinging in defunding the police. It is swinging in punishing the criminals. Whether it's gun crimes, and instead of focusing on the gun, we're looking at even police agencies are out there actively seeking people that are prohibited possessors, meaning that the law precludes them from owning a gun. So if they're catching people and they're actively looking for people that have firearms that are not entitled to have firearms, people that are selling illegal firearms or straw buyers, there is a bigger focus on this because people are realizing that it isn't just the firearm that's the problem, or it isn't the problem. I shouldn't say isn't just the problem. Isn't the problem. It's the person that obtains and has the firearm that's the problem. We also see, whether it's in California is a great example. There is a prosecutor in L.A. His name is George Gascon. You've probably heard me talk about him. Now, Mr. Gascon was the police chief, I believe, in Mesa here in Arizona for a while. He went on to become the district attorney in Northern California, where San Francisco is, and he is the district attorney in Los Angeles County. We call them county attorneys. Other jurisdictions call them district attorneys. But you have law enforcement, and the relationship has been repaired here in Maricopa County, but there was a divide. There was a fracturing of some of the relationships. Before Rachel Mitchell was the county attorney, there was a pretty wide fracture of relationship between the police and the prosecutors in the Maricopa County prosecutor's office, her county attorney's office. And in L.A., you've got law enforcement that actively have been speaking out of the soft on crime policies of the district attorney. The reason why it's such an important relationship is you've got understaffed police agencies across the country. Arizona is also finding itself in some of its cities in the same boat where they are understaffed, which means cops are working much longer hours to make cases so that criminals can get tried, convicted, and sent to prison if it's warranted. If you don't have a prosecuting office, whether it's the city or the county or the state, if you don't have prosecutors that are as aggressively prosecuting cases as you have cops that are aggressively making cases, if they aren't working together, if you don't have a prosecutor, and this is, generally how it works, a prosecutor will say the evidence has to show this in order to charge them with this crime. So you're not making up evidence. What you're doing is dotting your I's and crossing your T's to make sure you can make those cases. And if you've got a breakdown like you have in LA County, where you've got law enforcement busting their butts to make cases against criminals, and then the frustrated law enforcement is coming out and saying, we're not getting any kind of a partnership here. We're busting our butts trying to make cases, and you've got a prosecutor's office who is playing politics and soft on crime and doing different kinds of programs for people. Crime is going through the roof, and my officers are frustrated. My officers and deputies, they're frustrated because they're out there risking their lives to catch criminals, and no one's punishing them. Based on what we've seen in New York, based on what we've seen there, our county attorney is saying, we're going to extradite. We're going to send this guy to New York to face up to what he was charged with murder. And if he's convicted, New York has a right to do whatever they want. But Arizona is going to make sure that justice is done. We're going to go first so that we can try this case. If he's convicted, we can have him sentenced. And then when we extradite him to New York is bound to carry out the sentence that Arizona has levied. They have to honor that. I don't know how anyone in Arizona has a problem with this or why they would have a problem with this. This is what happens when you have a prosecutor that says, in the best interest of my jurisdiction. Because I will tell you from personal experience, there is nothing more frustrating than doing things the right way within the law and going in and saying, I'm going to call the police. I'm not going to take the law into my own hands. I'm going to let the police handle this. And then the system lets you down. Either they're not punished at all, the case doesn't get tried, or the punishment is so weak compared to what was done, you feel like I should have just handled my business. Should have done it myself. And nobody wants to feel that way. I don't want to be a vigilante. No one wants to feel that way. So when you have a prosecutor that is saying, in the interest of justice, we're going to make sure the victims in Arizona get the justice they deserve, then we'll let New York run their case. We're not hiding this guy from New York. We're going to make sure that we have justice in our community. I don't know how that's a bad angle to take on this. And we'll see. I'm anxious to see how it plays out.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.